Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So before I start this video, I want to say a couple things. First of all, I moved, so we get another blank wall for now. Sorry about that. Also, I'm sick, so my voice is gonna sound like this the whole entire time. But today's video is obviously gonna be a different mood than most of my videos are, as you can tell by the title. This is a video that I've been putting off for a very long time, but that I've been really wanting to film. It's something that I don't think people should feel ashamed to talk about. I really want to be able to use my platform to talk about this and to kind of create a space in the comment section where we can all have a discussion about it and a place where people can go to get support and to help each other out. So this is a really serious topic and one that is very close to my heart, so I will be monitoring the comments pretty closely. I'm not going to tolerate negativity or anything like that, so if I see any kind of hate comments in this particular video, I will be deleting them as soon as I see them. In order to protect everybody who might be sharing in the comments, I want to make sure that everything is positive, so just don't even post it. It's gonna get deleted. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm gonna be talking about my experiences with depression and anxiety and kind of how they have impacted my life. I'll throw this out there in the very beginning that for some people this topic can be a little bit triggering, so if you think that's gonna be something that will impact you, I recommend clicking off now before I start the video. These are also things that I have not really shared with my family that much, just like some family members and some close friends throughout my life, but this video might come as a shock to a lot of my family. I'm only making this video because I feel like I am in a point in my life where I am completely happy, and it's been a few years since I've struggled with these problems, so I feel like I'm ready to talk about them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start off by telling you guys like the background and like where it all kind of started. There's this like misconception that you have to have had a rough childhood or some big traumatic event in your life in order to be depressed, and that is not true at all. Everybody has a different background, everybody has a different life. So anyways, for those of you that don't know, I'm 22 years old right now. I'm almost 23, but it all started for me when I was in junior high. I was 12 years old and in the 7th grade. I think for me it was just a mix of a bunch of different things, but there is one night in particular that I can kind of remember that started it for me. So I was in this silly little like 4-day relationship in 7th grade. It's obviously your relationships at that age are not that serious, but when you are that age, everything feels so much more intense. So I was dating this guy for a couple of days, literally, that's it, and decided to break it off with him. So when this all happened, we were at a basketball game at school and he ran outside and tried to run in front of a car, and there are probably some people that watched this video that remember that night. The next day he didn't come to school and he sent me a text message letting me know that he was going to kill himself. He had a gun, he was going to kill himself. So so I showed those text messages to my principal and he called the police, and they went over to that guy's house and stopped him. Everything was good, but he resented me forever after that because I came in the way of things. So we never really talked again, and that really sucked at the time. I don't regret anything from that situation. I'm very glad that I did that because I'd rather him hate me for the rest of my life than have something else have happened, you know? But at the time, I lost a friend, and I felt guilty for making him feel more upset, and I just didn't know how to handle those emotions and know how to handle feeling guilt like that. And so unfortunately I turned to self-harm at the age of 12. That was a really pivotal moment in my life because it took over my thoughts and it took over who I was as a person. If anybody else here has struggled with self-harm, you know it has that same capability of becoming an addiction so fast, and it did for me. And it just kind of spiraled downhill so quickly and became this really big addiction in my life and this really big problem. So that happened when I was 12. And it continued to happen like that for about a year and a half before anybody found out. I was wearing long sleeve shirts. I was, you know, doing all of that to hide it from people. It was to the point where, well, I was a cheerleader in junior high all the way up through college, and coach in junior high would see it because I was doing it like on my arm and my thigh. But it got to a point where like my coach was seeing it in my uniform and people were starting to find out about it. You know, I would get pulled to the side during PE in class because my teacher would see it. And eventually in my 8th grade year, my parents did find out about it. We were on vacation and there was somebody house sitting for us. She went through our computer and found messages to my best friend about it and told my parents. So they did end up finding out. If you haven't experienced depression or self-harm, you don't really understand what that's like or how to stop it or why people do it. So for my parents, it was just kind of like a conversation that we had, and you know, when you're doing it, you make up any excuses that you can. I convinced them that it was like a one-time thing and that it's not something that I do all the time, and then I'm done with it, and they kind of believed me, and we left it at that for years. And I don't blame them for anything. They don't know about anything, and I was really good at hiding it, and it just, people that don't understand it don't really know where to go about it. So it continued off and on up until high school as well. And then in high school, I entered into a really unhealthy relationship. We were both depressed at the time, and it was just really unhealthy, really manipulative, and we tore each other down for like years. It was good because we could understand each other and understand what each other was going through, but we didn't have that emotional stability to like help each other out in that situation, and so we were just making it worse for each other. I couldn't help him the way that he needed, and he couldn't help me. After years of manipulation to each other from both sides, I decided that I had to end the relationship. Without going into too much detail, because that's not my story to tell, it really affected him negatively. The blame and the guilt was all put on me again for the second time in my life. At that point in high school, I think was when I was like the most severely depressed. I fell back into that hole of self-harming for a while, and I had sent text messages to a really good friend of mine about you know, suicide plans, like suicidal thoughts and things like that, and he ended up calling the police. The police came to my house and informed my parents again. So we are now like 4 years down the road, and my parents are hearing about it again. That's when I went to a hospital outside of the town because I didn't want people to hear about it, and I got recommendations to see a therapist, a counselor, and so I did that for a couple of weeks, but I hated that so much. I just had a bad counselor. I don't know, we didn't have a connection, and she kept forgetting everything I was telling her, and it really just turned me off to counseling, which is really funny because if you know me now, I'm going to school for that. But that's like the first time that I actually tried to get help, and once I realized that like help wasn't going to work for me the way that I needed it to, like that specific therapist was who my insurance covered and blah blah blah, that wasn't going to work for me. I knew I had to step up and do this on my own if I was ever going to get better from this. At this point, I'm graduating high school, and I moved out of town to go to college. So I moved to a different town, left everybody behind, everything that I had known behind. But then I started college here, and I met some amazing friends and amazing people, and I was able to kind of, you know, work on myself away from the toxic relationships and the toxicity of high school alone. I was kind of able to like move past it and everything, and I was feeling really great about everything. And then fast forward a couple of years in college, where I received an offer from Disney. I packed up my entire life, said goodbye to all my friends, all my family, and I moved across the country. We had no friends and no family. Since it was part of the college program and I didn't live in housing, I didn't really make any friends when I was on my program. I didn't go to any housing events because I wasn't allowed to take my boyfriend. So I just kind of isolated myself from the whole experience, and I didn't leave my house really except for to work. It just felt really lonely. And I think that time in my life was when I started to develop anxiety too. I think I always had it, but I didn't recognize what that feeling was until it started to become much worse when I was kind of on my own and getting this really horrible feeling all the time about everything. I started to develop social anxiety while I was there too, which is now like the only thing that I struggle with currently. So that's kind of followed me since then, but never leaving my house and like never interacting with anybody, I think really had an impact on that. I also, around this time, I started a new job with Disney that wasn't my college program, and I am going to make a story time about that because there's a lot about that job that people don't know, and like the real reason why I quit that job, it was making me so anxious that I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I started taking sertraline, and for those of you that don't know, it's antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication, and this was really my first attempt at like getting help on my own. I reached out to my doctor and was like, look, I can't handle it anymore. It's affecting my life so bad that I'm like too anxious to go to work. I'm too anxious to leave my house. And I've had a lot of people reaching out and emailing me about my experience with sertraline because I guess on a different video back in the day, I made a comment that I was starting it, and I don't even know what video that is anymore. But now I'm getting all these people asking asking me about my experience, but I'll make a different video about that. I had a really terrible experience with sertraline, so I stopped taking it. And then another time realized that, okay, I gotta do this on my own. Like, these things aren't helping me that should be helping me. Which isn't true. There's always different medications for people to try. Just because one doesn't work for you doesn't mean none of them will. I just was alone down there and didn't have support, and I was kind of trying to find support, and I was frustrated that it didn't work. So I stopped taking that. A really big change in that relationship happened when I was down there in Florida. A big thing happened, and I was living on my own for 6 weeks down there with no family, no friends, and I also felt really depressed in that moment too. But when I got back to Idaho, I broke things off with that relationship, and once I did, I lived alone for a year, and that's really the year that I was able to focus on myself and my emotional and mental health, and that's really where I feel like I made the most progress in my life. Depression and anxiety are a forever battle. You're never gonna really overcome it and never have it again. You'll always have waves, but I feel really good about where I'm at in my life right now. I just deal with social anxiety now. That's like the biggest part of my life, and it's really crippling at times, but I struggle with going places on my own, and my boyfriend, he is very social and always loves to be out with people, and that drains me really fast, and I usually have like panic attacks if I have to socialize too much. I've traveled, like you guys know, 17 flights this past year alone, all of them by myself. Just sometimes when I finally get to him at the end of the traveling day, I just am so anxious that I can't even like look him in the eyes or hug him or anything. I have to just like take a couple minutes and calm down because I'm just overwhelmed. It's crazy. Social anxiety is crazy. If you guys have anything similar, please let me know down below and we can talk about it, because it has been quite the journey with social anxiety the last couple of years. But yeah. I'm living in California now. I think a big move always helps me a little bit. It's a fresh start away from things that have caused you anxiety. And I still have scars like all over my body. For those of you who don't know, I have this really big rose tattoo on my arm, and it's actually a scar cover-up tattoo. So I still have a ton that show around it that I want to get like covered. But yeah, this is a big portion of where my really bad ones were. So I got this tattoo to like finally say that I'm done with it. It was like a really life-changing moment for me to like get that tattoo and cover up my past and move forward. And it's just a really positive reminder of like what I've been through. That was helpful in that time to like get myself out of that headspace. You just have to find what works best for you. Yeah, that's my experience with it. I've just kind of learned how to handle it, and it's not the same for everybody. But yeah, I'm going to school for psychology and social work so that I can literally spend the rest of my life helping people out with these problems. I have a really big passion for mental health and helping others with their mental health, so I'm really excited to finally post this video and open up that conversation on my channel and get people talking about it. This video is freaking everywhere. If you are struggling with depression, I'm gonna leave some resources in the description box down below, some numbers that you can call, some people you can talk to, and my social media links. Feel free to always message me on Instagram. I get back to pretty much everybody on there, or comment down below and we can start a conversation about it. So thanks for watching this mess of a video. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.